Thank you, Paula. I want to just remind everybody as we come on that it's best that we all stay muted, and when it's time for people to speak or would like to speak, either raise your hand, and then when you hit your space bar, that will temporarily unmute you. But for the purposes of us moving along and not having a lot of background noise, this is the best way. Erin, do you think we're ready to go ahead? Do we have everybody?
We are set to go. Thank you.
Okay, so we are reconvening to open session and calling to order at 3:53 p.m. I want everybody to be advised that a recording's being made at the direction of the board, and that recording may capture images and sounds of all of you attending the meeting. 3.2, report of actions taken in closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session. And we have to start out with the attendance roll call. So go ahead, we have to verbally chime in both when I'm taking any kind of roll call vote and when I'm asking for no's and yeses. So please remember, hand wave isn't enough. Okay. So President Elkishan here, Clerk Reed is absent today. Trustee Lopez Jones.
Here.
Trustee Maxfield.
Here.
And Trustee Galindo.
Here.
Awesome. We're all set. Great. So if Paula can share her screen with the American flag, I think we're going to go ahead and do a it'll probably just be us unmuted. So ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and now we are just looking for any changes on the agenda, Erin?
Yes, there is one addition to the personnel register.
Great, and we have that added in the notes, so that's perfect. Wonderful. So I am looking then initially for an emotion to go ahead and approve and adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So move. Second.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I am looking for everybody in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have Matt absent. 3.6, the district mission statement. Hang on. The old lady has to put her glasses on. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. Moving on to 4, public comments. So this portion of the agenda allows people to go ahead and address the board on any item regarding board business that's not on the agenda. Without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, we may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about the topics posed, and then your matter can be referred to administration, and we try to keep these to a limit of 3 minutes each. So what we did, so everybody knows, because there's a limit on how many people can come in, is we had people submit their comments to us ahead of time, and then I will go ahead and read the one public comment that we received. Okay, that requires my second phone. Unmute myself. Okay, so this is a public comment from Mark Morita, and he's a 6th grade teacher at the elementary school, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it as it was written to the board. To the esteemed school board of Calistoga Joint Unified School District, first and foremost, thank you. What is being asked of you is not easy. I appreciate your tenacity and your willingness to search for answers. One decision that needs to be made is whether teachers should be on campus during distance learning. Personally, being an extrovert, there is an intense desire for me to return to work. I love the ability to connect, articulate, and collaborate with my colleagues. It gives me so much joy, and my inability to see them on a daily basis has definitely left a void in my heart. That being said, my daughter's school district is beginning the school with a distance learning model, which means she will be at home. Since I share joint custody, there will be 2 to 3 days a work week when my daughter could potentially be left home alone. Like many members of the Calistoga Joint Unified School District family, we live outside the district in Lake County. My commute is roughly an hour away. Ever since 2015, we no longer consider this season a time of lemonade and sitting poolside. We see it as fire. Hence, being an hour away from my unattended daughter brings me some anxiety. On the days that when my daughter is not staying with me, I would definitely love the opportunity to return to work and collaborate with my peers. I believe that social distancing is possible on our site, and given the season, I believe most of our meetings could exist outdoors. I'm a tad worried about sharing indoor space, such as restrooms, but I'm confident our district will find a reasonable plan. I know some of the staff would like to be back at school 100%, and some of us would like to stay home 100% of the time. I guess I'm hoping for middle ground when I can be on campus. I'll be there, but I'm hoping the district will allow administrators to allow staff members to work from home when there is a definite need, whether it be caring for their children, taking care of their own health, or tending to someone that may be immunocompromised. I'd also like to add that my 2-hour round trip commute could be used to create online lessons or meet with my staff and school. I believe collaboration and communication is important, and I see the merits of doing this in person, but I also see how online communication can really be effective. Take more board meetings. For years, I would go to board meetings in Middletown and only to see a handful of stakeholders in the crowd. Now the COVID has hit, the board meetings are now held using Zoom. So many more people attend. I think I counted 150 participants. With my 6th grade team during the summer, we have met in person outside with PPE, but we've met more often using Zoom simply because it's easier for all of us to meet. I have also been thankful that I have been in communication with Principal Lamar during the summer, with all of my meetings being distant. There may be some doubt in your mind regarding accountability and making sure teachers are fully participating. Just like an observation, when the administrator can sit in on a classroom lesson, administrators can do the same thing when they are provided with access to Zoom or Google Meets codes. During those observations, administrators can determine if more support is needed for those teachers, providing the resources and mentors to make them successful. But when I look around at Calistoga Elementary staff, I must say that the vast majority of them were excellent, always pushing for ways to teach and reach their toughest students. For example, Matthew Gudinas' content, in my opinion, should get him nominated for Teacher of the Year. Autumn Grove is continuing her journey during the summer break, recently becoming Google certified and inspiring me to do the same. And for those teachers who didn't come to distant learning table, I'm sure a lot of it comes down to fear. They may be fearful of technology and may need guidance. I hope this letter finds you, your family, loved ones. This is a challenging time, and like I said before, I don't envy the position you're in, but I truly appreciate your ability to listen to all stakeholders and make decisions that are best for our students and staff and community. Sincerely, Mark Morita, 6th grade teacher, Calistoga Elementary School. There's Mark. Thank you, Mark. So I think he says a lot of wonderful things, and I know that we, especially our district office staff and all the administrators and teachers, are trying their best to come up with the system and the accommodations that are going to work the best for everybody. So thank you, Mark, for sharing your feelings and your eloquently written letter. I appreciate it. Wait, so I think at that point we continue, right? Okay. All right. So I guess I should ask, does anybody have any comments on that? Everybody heard it and received it and perfect. Okay. So that ends public business from the floor. 5.1 is our consent agenda. So as everybody knows, actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature. We enact them in one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board, the audience, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So today we are looking at 3 things on the consent agenda, and if nobody has any questions regarding those, I would look for a motion to go ahead and approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. And we have Matt absent. It's a roll call vote. President Elkiston, aye. Trustee Lopez Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Maxfield.
Aye.
Trustee Galindo.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, that moves us to 6.1, which are our action items. So protocol for action items includes staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there'd be a 3-minute limit per person. So 6.2, I'll let Erin go ahead and take it away with our reopening school plan as it stands currently.
Okay, and Julie, Paula is going to share her screen so that everybody can see the PowerPoint. First, I want to thank the board for scheduling this special meeting this afternoon. I know that a couple of you had to leave work, so I appreciate your time. Your decision today is going to allow our staff to move forward with all the remaining details that we have to complete before opening the school year, and there are many. I also want to thank our staff and the parents, because from the day that we closed our campus buildings last March, the pandemic has caused immense changes in all of our lives. So your flexibility, your understanding, and your support has really been appreciated. And although there's still a lot of uncertainty about what will happen in the year ahead, our district staff are committed to providing a learning program that's going to meet the needs of our students and families. So although the instructional program models that we're going to be sharing with you tonight are unique, we want to make sure that our district's core values and guiding principles remain the same. These are reflected in our mission statement and also in the LCAP goals and actions that we've implemented during the past 3 years. So the health and safety of our students and staff is always number one, and it will remain our priority. So that's why we are not beginning the year with in-person school. The social emotional health of our students is our second greatest concern, because if a child is anxious or they're stressed or they're depressed, they cannot be expected to focus on academic learning. And even though the instructional models that will be presented tonight are very different from our traditional program, we need to do the best that we can to continue providing high quality instruction and extra support for those students who need it. And we are very fortunate that we have maintained a strong culture of collaboration, and our ability to be flexible was certainly demonstrated last spring. In addition, we want to make sure that we're offering professional development to staff, we're training our parents, that students continue to have digital access and receive nutritious meals, and that we are communicating with families regularly. So the path that we took to develop a reopening school plan began in early June when Michael distributed a number of different surveys. He solicited input from our staff, from students and parents on their own experiences with distance learning, and then he asked for their suggestions for the upcoming school year. He also met with CAT and CSA leadership to identify the top concerns and priorities of all of their members. And then in late June, I established a 2020 task force, which consisted of 18 individuals representing the classified certificate and management staff. I'm grateful to each of them, and I see quite a few of them on this call right now. I appreciate their time, their collaborative spirit, and also their optimism in a tough time and when working on a really complex problem. So the task force drafted learning models after a lot of work, which Michael's going to present to you tonight. And then the next steps will be for the school work groups to begin to operationalize the plan as separate groups. So there'll be one at CES and one at the junior senior high school. We also need to negotiate the effects of on our CAT and CSEA members. And on Monday, we plan to distribute a program enrollment option form to each of our families so that they can choose the best preference for each of their children. Then after we get those back, we'll begin to build class lists for the different programs. And it's important to know that although districts are legally allowed to develop their own unique plans for reopening school, we all must meet state and county health guidelines. And then Senate Bill 98, which just recently passed, also established legal parameters for all of us. And those parameters are specifically around distance learning. So we'll need to ensure that our program meets those requirements. And those are new since the spring. So we did not have those in place when we first went into distance learning in March. So distance learning is going to be implemented very, very differently in our district as well as other districts. When we all experienced a sudden school closure and we literally had no time at all for planning. And because we want to clearly delineate between what was then and what is now, we're going to be using the term virtual learning for our program for the upcoming school year rather than distance learning. And it may seem small, but again, we want to try to delineate between the two different experiences. So some of the differences are there will now be a schedule for all students. There's going to be high levels of engagement expected. We will be taking daily attendance and weekly attendance for the kids. There will be a return to grades. There's not going to be a pass, no pass option anymore. There's going to be daily contact between students and their teachers. There'll be synchronous learning each day where the whole class participates. And there's going to be a new online platform at the K-2 level, which you can learn more about later. So I've asked Michael to review the task force recommendations for the phased-in approach that we're going to take for different learning models.
All right, good afternoon. So given the governor's recent announcement that schools that are in counties that are on the watch list will not return to in-person learning to start the year, our phase one will be in virtual learning. I think Erin did a great job of describing some of the new expectation from the state. And I would just echo that. I think we did an admirable job last year of something that transitioned very, very quickly. And we were able to serve our students to the best of our ability. I think at this point, the state's had some time to reflect and give more clear guidance. We've had time to reflect. I know our teachers have had the summer to reflect, and we'll give training and provide training in the fall, have additional time for staff preparation, staff meeting, and I feel like we'll be much better prepared and positioned to provide rigorous virtual learning with a higher standard for expectation for ourselves and for our kids. When we have the go-ahead by our public health departments to transition back to some in-person learning, we will transition to phase two. This will involve blended learning models, which we'll describe in more detail here tonight. And then we'll also have the Wildcat Academy, or the virtual learning program, will continue. And so students that are medically fragile or families that just would prefer and have a higher comfort level to be in a virtual setting will still have that option. But we will start to implement in-person learning in a way that's safe for our students and our staff. And again, we'll describe that in more detail. And then at some point, if we are able and we get the go-ahead from public health, we will transition to phase three, which is back to in-person learning, all students 5 days a week. If that occurs, we will maintain the Wildcat Academy and a virtual option for those students who so choose. And Paula, if you move us forward, we'll kind of keep going. This is the overview of our blended learning models, and then we'll go into more specifics on each of our school sites. And this is the work that really largely comes out of our task force, which Erin described, which was a great group, a diverse group, which was very helpful to have voices from throughout the organization in that conversation. But some of the overarching ideas behind our blending learning models was an agreement that we want to maximize student instruction. We know that students learn best when we are in person. We would love to have our students back, all our students back. But we also know that that's not possible to do and ensure the health and safety of our students. So with those two priorities in mind, where's the balance? We want to maximize instruction and prioritize health and safety. So that was some of the guiding thought from the get-go. We've created static cohorts, which will be of 12 students or less at the elementary, probably in that range, potentially as up to 15 students per cohort in the junior senior high school. But this is an important concept to keep students in small static groups. It limits the risk of having lots of interactions with students, with other students, and our teachers having those interactions themselves or by virtue of their student contacts. I think this is probably a more complex puzzle at the junior senior high school, where traditionally our students transition through lots of classes during the course of a school day and see lots of different groups of students. So we'll look at how we've approached that to make sure that we've created static student cohorts as we prioritize safety. As is prescribed by SB 98, we have additional support for special education students, English learners, and our other students, and we'll see where that exists inside of the schedules that we've built. The blended learning models do just that. They blend in-person learning with virtual and online learning. And these schedules also provide for additional time for staff training, preparation, collaboration, and staff meetings. I think this year, more than any in a long time, is going to require a tremendous amount of staff training, time for our staff to collaborate around that training and see what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my grade level or my subject level, my site? And we're going to need additional time for preparation. And I think we recognize that you know, we as much as we've had additional time to reflect, this is going to be still a learning phase for all of us to learn how to do virtual learning and blended learning. So at the elementary school, our students will attend in-person learning school 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. A typical student day will include direct instruction or classroom instruction, a chance for recess, some virtual learning or online learning, and there'll be an opportunity for additional instructional support for those students in need. Wednesday is the identified day that has that built-in time for additional staff training, preparation, collaboration, and staff meetings. And there'll be time available for additional student support for those students who need it 5 days each week. There will also be a virtual learning option available for any student who cannot attend or whose parents choose for the student not to attend. And this is a graphic which is a draft, so it's a little bit of a work in progress. This comes out of our task force and really needs additional staff input, but this gives us an idea of where we're heading. And some things we can point out. If you look at the 3 rows there, TKK, 1st through 3rd grade, 4th through 6th grade, you see a staggered start time, and as a result, a staggered release time. This is important for how we load and unload the school site to make sure that we're limiting the number of students coming to and leaving the site each day so that we don't have the entire campus arriving. You see that breakdown throughout the day of instruction, recess, instruction, lunch, and then that afternoon time for additional support. And then you see that time on Wednesday, which has a combination on Wednesday of staff meeting time, etc., plus additional time to support those students who are in need. This is an A-B schedule, meaning that students come to school on alternating days. So students might come Monday and then another group on Tuesday. Some districts have looked at a morning-afternoon schedule where students come to school every day, either morning, afternoon. This schedule is an alternating schedule, which really we feel like keeps students and staff a little safer than trying to have everyone come throughout the day and do a cleaning midday. But that's a description of this schedule. And we do think it accomplishes the things that we want, which is maximizing instruction, maximizing health and safety of students and staff, allowing time for additional support, allowing additional time for staff. And we'll look at the blended learning model for the junior senior high school. Like I said, I think this is a little more complex just because of the complexity of a 7-period day. And we really, I think, have come up with a very creative approach, which I'm excited about. And we'll describe that. But students come to school like the elementary school 4 days a week. There's an AM and PM cohort with an advisor teacher. So students will either come in the AM, you'll be an AM student, or a PM student. You'll have an advisor teacher or advisory teacher. This is one teacher that will stay with your cohort. By and large, your content will come to you virtually from your other teachers, but you'll spend your in-person time with one teacher. So that teacher will help create classroom community, help support the social emotional well-being of students, help those students as they access the content from their other teachers. But this allows us to have students safely in a cohort with one teacher, as opposed to trying to have students transition from one teacher to the next 3-4 times a day, or even 7 times a day in a 7-period day. There's time for additional student support 5 days a week. Like the elementary school, Wednesday is this identified day for additional staff and team time. And like the elementary school, virtual learning in the Wildcat Academy will be available to those students who cannot attend school or whose parents choose for them not to. And again, this is a draft, but this is our working schedule. And I'll describe it. This Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday morning time from 8 to 9. This is really the extra support time on those 4 days. For English learners, special education students, also for AP students that just need more instructional time, and other students in need of extra support. This is the time where they are scheduling that with their teachers, or their teachers are scheduling it with them to come into class. They would sit with their advisor teacher, but they might be online virtually with the classroom teacher in which class they need support. After 9 o'clock, we shift into that AM, PM Learning Hub. So you're either in the AM group or the PM group. If I'm in the AM group and I've gone to class from 9 o'clock to noon approximately, in the afternoon, I will have a responsibility for some virtual or online learning. Wednesday has time in the morning for an hour and a half for that staff time. And then this other portion of the day, students will see each teacher virtually. And our group felt this was very important because under this Learning Hub model, while you're creating a great relationship with your advisor teacher and that cohort, you really aren't having a chance to have live sessions that are scheduled with each of your teachers. So Wednesday is the day, and they're short periods, but it's a chance for you to at least get some FaceTime virtually with each teacher. So again, I think a creative schedule, a creative solution to this issue of how do we keep everyone safe in a high school schedule where students have so many teachers. But we feel like that this does it. It also makes it a little easier to transition in and out of virtual learning versus hybrid learning. If we have to go back and forth this year, the virtual framework is basically there, though it's being utilized in this in-person setting. So that's a description really of the hybrid models, which was really, which is a difficult task and a challenging task. And I was, impressed with our team's ability, with our ability to put it together and to find a solution to a complex problem. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who's going to take us into some health and safety aspects.
Hey, Michael, can I interject for just a moment?
You betcha.
On the elementary school model, I just want to make sure everybody's clear that on the AB model, kids are on campus 4 days a week, but they actually only attend each child 2 days a week. So that's the AB schedule. I'm not sure everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
All right, so a few of the major things that we've started to put together and incorporate on the campuses is sink faucet and flush valves. This would be a touchless type unit for all of the student restrooms and the teacher restrooms. We've got all the parts in and just scheduling with the contractor to come out and do the installation. Portable hand washing stations are ordered. We received them, and they're all put together, being staged at the high school right now. We'll distribute those once we come up with a little more definitive plan on where those will be staged. Plexiglass shields. Most of those are already here and put in place. I'm waiting on a little bit more feedback from a couple staff members to see where else I need to add those. But anywhere we need those will be in place. Hand sanitizers will be in all the classrooms, libraries, offices, common areas. Most of them will be wall-mounted type dispensers. And anywhere we can't do that, we'll have something on a stand or a table with sanitizer for anybody coming in. Fencing at CS to kind of direct parents and visitors into the office area and just to kind of protect the campus a little bit more. I'm in the bid process on that right now. That closes on Monday the 27th. There's a decent amount of lead time for the materials, so hope to have that done by the end of August. We are hiring another custodian for a day shift at the high school. We have one at the elementary school already, but we'll be hiring another position to cover the high school for support there during the day. All of our HVAC units are getting serviced at the beginning of August. Our filters are getting upgraded to MERV 13, which is recommended by, it's not necessarily the CDC directs you to an HVAC agency called ASHRA that gives all their recommendations, and we'll be following those, bringing in additional outside air, making adjustments to those units for that. We do have a stock of PPE for staff and students on hand right now. As we go through it, we'll order more. We'll keep that up, and then all of our custodial staff and maintenance staff will go through a training that's specific to disinfecting for COVID-19. That's all I got for this.
Thank you, Chris. Maureen, do you have a moment? Are you on there?
I'm here.
Okay. Would you like to speak about food services?
Yep, just a little update on food services. We are looking at changing the way we're distributing meals from our current process to a new process. Right now we're distributing out of the elementary school, and we're doing it daily. We're thinking of, with the new distance learning that's going to happen at the beginning of the school year, we will go down to 1 to 2 times a week to help parents actually not have to come to school every day along with students. So we'll package up meals that will give them a week's worth of meals, or enough for half a week if we do it twice. We're also looking at possibly taking our district vans out and having food distribution spots for places that, you know, people might have a difficult time either getting to us, or that we know that there's a high need area. So we're looking into that right now. And then I wanted to update the board about our community eligibility provision, our CEP status. We have applied for CEP status at the elementary school and at Palisades. And CEP, remember, is that all eat for free. And so even our reduced students and our paid students would eat for free at both the elementary school and Palisades. And that's because they qualify by our direct certification percentage to enrollment. And that means we have, like at Palisades Elementary, we have over 43% of our students are directly certified, meaning they're getting some kind of special service from the state, be it SNAP or food stamp, something like that. And because we are over 40%, we qualify to feed all of our kids for free. So this is a fantastic thing. We've been wanting to do this district-wide, but unfortunately our junior, senior high school does not qualify yet. So maybe in the coming years we can get them to qualify. But what we have decided as a district is, because we do a huge contribution to the cafeteria, we can support reduced students, and they will now be considered free, so they won't have a lower reduced price to pay. So that's a little something there. But I just want to let the board know that we're in the throes of getting approved for all of this, and it's a really good thing because I think it's going to help serve lots more meals to kids that really need it.
So I want to express my gratitude. I mentioned earlier to the task force members. I had hoped they could all be here today, but I know everybody's busy. So the people on the call right now are Eric Heitz, Kathy Bone, Chris Oakes, Isabel Rodriguez, Jessica Musser, who were on the main task force. And then we had a few individuals join us for our last meeting just to get some different perspectives. And I see Jeannie Heck is on here and Aida Zepeda. So thank you all. I appreciate your time. And then most especially, I want to thank our facilities staff, our district office staff, and also our food services staff. You know, we're busy every summer when staff is on vacation, but this summer has been absolutely nonstop, just with planning and preparing our facilities and our programs for our students and our staff to come back. So thank you to all of those people. And in closing, I really have great confidence in our principals, our teachers, and all of our support staff. There are certainly challenges ahead. We're implementing something very new, and every day changes. I get new regs sent my way literally every day. But I believe that we can overcome them. We have a collaborative group, and I think by working together, we can create very positive and high quality learning experiences for our students, despite the challenging times. So thank you all.
Aaron, I have a couple questions about the presentation. I'm sorry, my battery died on me. I wasn't able to interject earlier. So as far as the public health numbers go, according to the state order, what numbers are we watching? Because we're a joint unified school district. How is that combined, or are we just focusing on Napa?
We only focus on Napa, Mark. That's a great question.
Okay, and as far as we're keeping track of grades now, so do all like appeal process and eligibility allowances fall in line now in the potential upcoming sports seasons?
I can probably let Eric answer that if he's on the call here.
Yes, I'm here. When we are giving grades will be accepted for sports eligibility. And there are some potentials for some waiver situations, but as of now, what I understand is that we will still be using the district policy on grading and making sure that the CIF regulations are being met. And I
Awesome.
I could do a sports update later if you'd like, but I'll let this plan finish.
I'm asking for a friend myself. I'm a sports fanatic, Aaron. Eric, I just want to know. And Aaron, I had another question probably for Chris. Besides the plexiglass and has anything been, changes been made to our AC? I know there's some data out where that is a key focal point in the protections against COVID.
Yeah, I've got our HVAC company that we use to service our units. They'll be out at the beginning of August to go through and make sure everything's functioning good. Change out all the filters with an upgraded filter that's a MERV 13 level, which is the recommended for filtering out virus. So yeah, we are going to be assessing all of our HVAC units and getting those squared away, make sure we have plenty of air circulation.
And one last question. Thank you, Chris. One last question for Michael. So the learning option for students and who don't attend the distant learning program, how does that vary from what the kids are offering now, besides the obvious, like grading wise? How is that standard aligned with our current model as proposed?
Mark, could you clarify that just a little more? I want to make sure I answer what you're asking.
The virtual learning option for the kids that can't participate in the proposed option present. So how does it vary, grading wise, test wise? What are the differences?
Sure. So we have, from the state, we have a minimum instructional minutes requirement, and the state is, allowing that to occur in person, virtually, or a combination of both. And so our students who are doing just virtual learning, they will purely participate in a virtual program. Their assignments will be online. All of their live instruction will be online. So they'll continue to get those things. They'll continue to demonstrate their learning, to get feedback, to get graded, but they just will not have that in-person, in-classroom contact.
So the same test, same curriculum, all that, other than that in-person
You know, I don't know
contact
that we've gotten into that granular level of discussion. And I think, you know, some of these, we've had a lot of great discussions this summer that we're able to have, but some of these discussions truly need to happen at the site level amongst teachers about what the agreements are with regards to expectations, with regards to grading. There needs to be staff agreements about those things to make them meaningful. And so, you know, I think it would be premature to really give a full description of that level of detail until the staff has the ability to come back, have those conversations with their principals, and make agreements.
Okay, thank you all. That's all I have.
I have a couple of questions in regards to virtual learning and, you know, technology availability for all of our students, reliable technology available. What steps are we taking in order to assure that we have that available for the students who are going to be choosing that second option, or, you know, if we're going to be doing a hybrid model? And that's one. And the other one is, you know, training for parents on how to use the technology and how to, you know, better help their children at home.
Maureen, do you mind taking the equipment piece since you've been ordering, and then maybe Michael can follow up with the training?
Sure. Currently, we have about 150 mobile hotspots for families to use around the community. We are right now setting up a private network with Verizon, so we can order another 20 to reach those hard to get to spots in the community. And so that's being done right now. As soon as we finish that network setup, we'll be getting 20 more hotspots. And we're hoping that this covers what we need to cover. But if it doesn't, we can always order more. We have a 1-year contract with both Verizon and T-Mobile to continue mobile hotspots for the next 12 months.
Thank you.
And on support for our parents, I think it's a great question. I think that came into focus in an even greater way when we saw some of the results of our PK survey. And we saw, you know, we really got to see some data on the fact that many of our parents do have a very low entry point into technology. And now we are expecting some very, you know, high level of participation from their children in technology. So I think it's a great question. With regards to our strategies, we have a few thoughts. One is using bilingual staff to create you know, opportunities for our parents to learn, whether they be recorded videos that our parents can access, or whether there be a helpline where parents can call in. And there have been a few things that have happened that have kind of illuminated a little bit of that for us. Let's give credit to Rosa Rubio, our Director of Food Services, who did some videos that were watched many, many times, and it really brought up for us that our families will engage, right? And so if we have a library of lessons for our parents that are bilingual, that could be powerful. Though I think too, we've been talking through it, you know, we need to identify what those recurring issues are that our parents need support with, which is probably something our teachers can help us with as they're working with kids, and they identify, here are the things that our parents really need support with. And then this summer, in the summer program, we saw parents, which was an online program, we saw parents that needed a lot of support. And so we did a lot of in-person and online support for our families. But there has to be strategies to communicate and to communicate in our parents' home language.
I would agree with that statement.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I'm so proud to work for this district. I'm so amazed at all the hard work and how we're being so flexible, because we still don't even know what's going to happen before the beginning of the year. So does anybody else have any questions that they want to bring up? I'm a little scared because Autumn's driving.
Is this an appropriate time for public comment?
Yes, absolutely, Kathy. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, as most of you know, my name is Kathy Bone. I've been a math teacher at the junior senior high school for 22 years. I'm also beginning my 3rd term as president of CAT. And I'm want to talk to you today about an important component of the school reopening plan. As Erin alluded to, I've been on the task force with several of my colleagues, and we are negotiating the school reopening plan in an MOU this week. I'm here to explain why we feel it is imperative that teachers have the option to work remotely during implementation of total virtual learning, as well as the virtual learning portion of any hybrid model. We have been, yes, working on the task force, and every time we come in, it's new. We had things set up, and then sadly, because we want to be back in school with our students, on July 17th, Erin sent us all an email apprising us of that there would be no person instruction until a county is taken off the monitoring list. And that will happen after 14 days of a declining number of COVID-19 cases. Until that time, schools will provide effective distance learning, including remote live instruction for all students. CAT asserts that if it is not safe for students to attend school in person, it is not safe for staff to attend school in person. Compared to working remotely, the district's plan to have all staff working on site all day places them in an increased unnecessary risk. Some examples are increased exposure because you have staff coming in from Lake, Napa, Sonoma, all kinds of different places. You have increased exposure through physical proximity to other staff while we're wearing our masks and social distancing and spending less than 15 minutes with each other. These all reduce the risk of exposure, but they do not eliminate it entirely. We will still be sharing work areas and restrooms. We will also have increased exposure through physical proximity to other staff. Not each staff member is at the same place of concern about COVID. It's just who we are. And an increased exposure through physical proximity to other staff occurs because some of us may be asymptomatic. Some of us may be waiting on test results or have family or loved ones who are waiting on test results or are asymptomatic. We feel the district should honor its pledge to be flexible in an effort to protect the safety of all students and staff. Once Napa County has been off of the state's watch list for at least 14 days, CJUSD has plans to implement hybrid learning models at both school sites. A component of both models provides duty-free time for teachers to plan and create virtual lessons. CAT contends that planning and creating virtual lessons, in addition to other professional duties, can be more than adequately accomplished remotely. Since the school closure in March, we have demonstrated as a staff that we can meet remotely, collaborate remotely, and provide learning opportunities remotely. We understand that the fall will be very different than the spring, and we are determined to provide the rigorous standards-based instruction students deserve virtually in hybrid models as the guidance from the local and state agencies direct us, and eventually in a full in-person traditional model when there is a vaccine or a cure. Asking us to fulfill our obligations in person before COVID-19 has been brought under control, however, is asking staff to make a choice between their health and their professional obligations. We are asking that you do not put staff in this position of having to make this choice. Requiring staff to be on site for the entire professional day when our professional duties can be accomplished remotely increases anxiety for staff and their families as they transition through various phases of school reopenings and closures. Allowing the staff the option and choice to work remotely when providing virtual learning allows them the flexibility to consider their health and the health and safety of their loved ones. Just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate you laying that out for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to add? It's
I
definitely.
do.
Oh.
I do. During this whole COVID thing, I wept when I saw a parent having to bury their two kids, and then I wept again when I saw two teenagers having to bury their parents. And I understand your concerns, and I would hope that the people that it is their job to ensure safety for our staff and kids and their parents, that now's the time to step up and put in that extra work. I'm only a vote of 5, but I hear and I understand your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Last chance for anybody else to chime in. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at now, just so everybody understands, is a proposed plan as things develop. And we have no idea right now how anything is going to develop between now and August. So what we've done is our due diligence to try to sort of forecast and create something. And I think everybody's worked really, really hard on trying to, consider the multitude of different scenarios that might happen. But really, when it comes down to it, none of us know. We don't know anything about the disease. We don't know what's going to happen. So I commend everybody for all your hard work in just preparing this and going through the myriad of scenarios. And we know that this next year is going to be hard work, whether we are doing it remotely or we're doing it on campus. It's going to be a lot of work. So having said that, I think that we move forward with a motion to approve the plan as it stands, and that know that we are all working hard to make sure that we're staying on top of ever-changing information, and that we will always consider what's best for everybody as we make all these decisions. Okay. So I guess at that point, if nobody else has anything else, so that we would just be looking for a motion to approve our action plan as it stands right now.
Julie,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the plan with the caveat that I agree with what you said, that everybody's done a really bang up job working on an unforeseen, incredibly unreal set of circumstances. So I applaud everybody for all the hard work that they've done, but I make a motion to approve the plan as submitted.
And I second that.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Hang on. I lost my agenda. There we go. So I'm going to see. Go ahead.
I would like to I do parliamentary procedures to be formal, if I may. So the present plan, it is still with negotiations still happening, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
And did we look at the calendar? Did I miss that? And I might be out of my mind.
It was in the consent agenda, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously we're still going through a lot until this all starts, but I think that we have to be prepared for everything. So I applaud all the leadership, and we obviously have one leader in charge there, but everybody has been leaders in this, and I've just been really impressed with everybody taking charge. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. And that does not require a roll call vote, correct, Paula?
That's correct.
Okay, so I believe I just want to double check with the board members. We are not needing to reconvene to closed session. We felt like we've done. Okay, perfect. So then we are just looking for that last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Go Team Wildcats.
Thank you.
Stay strong.